gonna be alright.
Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Trans Stupid, where I take a look at the wonderful world of LGBTQIA+ news, because stupidity is intersectional. So the first story this week, believe it or not, does not include Jessica Yaniv. So I'm trying to stay away from the expired ham from Canada just for a little bit until there's a bit more of a big news update regarding this toxic individual. I know that I've been covering them a lot in my recent videos, but let's just try and move away and go over some more interesting things that are happening which don't involve a tampon fetishist. And with that being said, let's take a trip to Scotland, where we meet Scotland's only transgender councillor who says that it's really isolating being the lone tranner. Well, let's check in on this guy again. Yeah, so for those who aren't aware, this is Gregor Murray, who, believe it or not, is not a man. I know, right? But actually is non-binary. And apparently they are Scotland's only trans councillor. Now, I covered Murray in a video a couple of months ago when he was suspended for sending some quite vicious messages online to a number of gender-critical feminists. Following that, he decided to resign from his position within the Scottish National Party, citing transphobia. Kind of pulling the Amy Challoner defence when you're caught out doing something a little bit dumb. Just say transphobia and everyone kind of forgets. So, let's see what Murray is up to. Gregor Murray will walk into a Dundee City Council Planning Committee meeting this evening as an independent councillor for the first time since being elected in 2012. Known for being the only transgender councillor in Scotland, yes, this guy, Councillor Murray resigned as a member of and elected representative for the Scottish National Party in May this year. In a letter to Chief Executive Peter Murrell, Councillor Murray stated that SNP has a major institutional problem with transphobia. Murray self-identifies as neither male nor female, believe it or not, and first came out as transgender before the council elections in 2012 in a flurry of comments opposing gender quotas, a position which did not inspire favour among many feminist members. And in the resignation letter, Murray attributes a blame to a number of strategically placed transphobic politicians for having created a hostile environment towards those who are transgender within the party. Murray's return also follows a 2-month suspension by the Standards Commission for breaching the Code of Conduct due to 2 counts of online abuse. So you kind of took that away in there a bit, don't you? Like, a lot of focus on how tough it has been for Murray. But let's see exactly how this has been so hard for him. And before anyone snaps at me, you've got to earn your pronouns. This guy is getting hims. So Murray cites that committees at Holyrood are considering changes to the Gender Recognition Act and a 2021 consensus to be inclusive of trans people, and these both affect the trans community. But the conveners of both committees, according to are avowedly transphobic, and this is Joan McAlpin and Ruth Maguire, and I know at least one of those was one of the recipients of Murray's online abuse. Murray also mentions that despite being outspoken on social media, he has had frequent experiences of disproportionate online abuse, ranging from disparaging comments on appearance to death threats. Now, obviously, death threats are completely out of order, and anyone who is actually doing that, if indeed it is happening, is disgraceful. But, Murray, you are beyond no effort non-binary. I mean, hell, a lot of NBs will at the very least dye their hair blue. You can't even be bothered doing that. You can't even be bothered shaving. You look like a man. All you have done is said that you are now a they. How the hell is anyone supposed to take you seriously if you don't want them to consider you to be a man? Maybe don't look like a man. That should be the #1 rule here, but apparently this goes over Murray's head. Murray says, being the first of anything is never easy. It is isolating. And in the last year, there have been some real low points. So, what is the actual issue with Murray being the only trans councillor in Scotland? I mean, just having disparaging comments on appearance? Name me a politician who hasn't had that. Everyone from the very low levels all the way up to Donald Trump receives frequent abuse online. It's kind of the nature of politics. There's nothing there that really makes Murray stand out as anything particularly unique. And if it really is nothing more than people are thinking that Murray is a man, as I previously said, gee, I wonder why. The piece ends with the author saying that he has his own misgivings about trans identity. But on a personal level, the individual I met last week carries a fierce pride for their constituency, appears to wear the mantle of responsibility with a tangible awareness of the gravity of expectation, and is admittedly reflective and repentant for areas of wrongdoing. Where's the repentance? Where is the apology for what he did? There's a lot of this which is building up around Murray feeling victimised, but there's absolutely nothing to say that he sincerely feels bad for what he did. Considering he is Scotland's only trans councillor, as has been repeated a lot in this article, one would think he would try and get at least a little bit more of a better image rather than being the perpetual victim. But of course, this is current year, and trans people within the spotlight can be nothing but victims. Where the hell are the people who are actually, champions of it, rather than saying that the whole world is harsh for them? Now, I would have a little bit of sympathy, even if it was someone like, say, Big Bertha, the Tran with a van, someone who is at least a trans woman who is trying to pass, even if it's not passing very well. I can have some sympathy for that. I do not have sympathy, however, for someone who says that they are non-binary and that the whole world is really hard and mean, really mean, because people look at a man and think that's a man. Yeah, that is going to happen. That's going to happen a lot. You came out in 2012. I think you would have learnt, if you were genuine, that maybe you gotta change something about yourself. And I would question how someone who born male and still looks male has any kind of gender dysphoria. And this is supposed to be a representative for trans people. This guy is being looked at as the first trans councillor. Him. This. The first trans councillor. Not a trans woman, not a trans man. This. I am not the kind of person who really looks for representation and stuff like that, but even I'm offended by it. This is an absolute joke. And Murray's experiences are not going to be like any of the actual trans people in Scotland. And the author acts as though this is some sort of inspiration. I have seen a quite big rise in the amount of men who say they are MB and absolutely nothing with their appearance. They don't seem to have any kind of transition. At least with female MBs, they generally will try and go for a more androgynous appearance. For some reason, guys don't do that. They just stay guys and just change the pronouns, and that's it. It's a joke, and I don't take this seriously at all. But the next story that I want to touch upon is one that kind of affects me, and I'll go into why, although it should be quite obvious. LGBTQ-Tubers sue Google. A group of LGBTQ content creators allege that YouTube and parent company Google are biased against them and their community. One YouTuber alleges in a video that they flagged our pride in an announcement of the lawsuit. They did not allow us to buy ads. They restricted us. They demonetized us. And they did not stand up for us. The lawsuit, filed Tuesday in the United States District Court for the Northern District of California, alleges that since 2016, YouTube and Google have been engaged in unlawful content regulation, distribution, and monetization practices that stigmatize, resist, block, demonetize, and financially harm the LGBTQ+ plaintiffs and the greater LGBTQ+ community. Google and YouTube brand LGBTQ+ content as shocking, offensive, and or sexually explicit, not because of the video's content, but either because the viewpoints expressed involve what a senior Google YouTube content creator dubbed the gay thing, or because the content was posted by or viewed by YouTube community members who identify as gay. Plaintiffs in the suit include Queer Kid Stuff, What's the Safe Word, and Uppercase Chase 1. Now, I'm probably impacted by a bit of this as well. Virtually every single video I put out has restricted monetization on it. But I can't help but feel that a lot of the YouTubers who are crying foul of being called out by this are the same ones who complain whenever there is any kind of controversy and they want to have people on YouTube have their platforms removed. Likes of Steven Crowder, Sargon, Dankula, people who have lost, entire monetization of their channels. And yeah, eventually, this isn't only going to impact the views that they don't like, it's going to impact everyone. So it doesn't surprise me that LGBTQIA++ YouTubers are impacted by it. Especially someone like myself, someone who does sit on the right, someone who's quite critical of a lot of where the whole gay activists, trans activists, whatever, where they come from. So I've always, acknowledged that I'm going to get demonetized. But a lot of these people should outright be expecting it. If you want to really change this, you shouldn't be changing the rules just so you get monetization and nobody else does. Are they going to be pushing for the likes of me or Blaire White, for example, being monetized? Probably not. And it is interesting to see some channels like Queer Kids Stuff being part of this lawsuit. I mean, I keep on thinking Queer Kids Stuff is nothing more than a parody, but apparently it is a real channel. Now, the thing is, I want to be monetized. I think that these channels should also receive monetization as well. I just don't want them to act as though they are the only ones who are impacted by any of this and ultimately throw us all under the bus for their own interests, which I kind of feel they will do, but only time will tell. But speaking of YouTubers, this last week has been very interesting for one particular trans YouTuber, and that's Kat Blaque. Now, I'm sure a lot of my viewers are aware of Kat, but for those who aren't, Kat Blaque has the amazing ability to make any situation entirely about her. And she did that this week when she had a discussion with someone who I think might have been a fan, or they could have just been a random trans person. And this weird exchange of tweets happened. A user called Benny tweeted, "Being trans is cool. No, it's not ugly." Kat responds by saying, "Being trans is the coolest thing you can be. On the scale of cool, trans is at the top. Sorry, I don't make the rules. Stop being such an effing hipster." Then Benny responds with, "I'm going to effing kill myself because I'm not cis. This is not cool. I am 14 and I am so effing close to ending my life, so effing early because I'm a trans individual. Me hating the fact the community I live in thinks I am a freak who deserves to die does not make me a hipster." So that is quite a dark comment for someone to make, and Kat responded quite a weird way. "Put me in the will, kid." Now, it should be said that Kat thought that this kid was joking, why she made that comment. However, apparently this was a genuine trans person who was genuinely feeling suicidal. So you have a very big name YouTuber, someone who has a lot of people looking up to her within the community, effectively sounded like they're encouraging someone to commit suicide. An incredibly bad look. And as a result, you can guess that how much that Kat Blaque was dragged as a result. But, as I mentioned, Kat has magic powers. And in a big string of tweets, she was able to make it so she is the victim in all this. Such tweets included, "How many times can I express that I do not care if you like me or not, or forgive me or not? I don't want pity. I have never responded positively to pity in any situation, including when I have been suicidal. People will always believe I am a bad person. I am used to it. I am the villain in many people's timelines, even before I say anything or do anything. People have never needed a reason to dislike me. So these are the people rushing to my page to tell me about how what I said to a suicidal trans teenager was wrong. I want to point out and highlight this. These people do not care about suicide. They do not care about the delicate life of trans people. They don't care. But as an aside, I believe there are valid criticisms being made. I just want to point out that there are people concerned trolling like they really care if a trans kid kills himself or not. They don't. Most of these folks want us dead. So I care about the kid, but I don't care about all this fallout, genuinely. But I would like to point out that Blaire White shared my very wrong and fucked up comment to someone I later found out was a trans teenager, but didn't share my video calling out Jessica Yaniv. But to give Kat credit, she did admit that she was doing all of this to make it about her, saying, I never said I didn't make it about me. I did. I made it about me because I've been a suicidal teenager and I understand how hurtful what I said is to you when you're that age and you feel that way. That's why I'm genuinely sorry. So Kat actually made a lot of posts about this. I'm not going to go over every single one, despite the fact that she said that she wasn't going to spend all day doing it. She kind of did. And then she later got into another suicide controversy involving Boogie, who, let's face it, a lot of people are having drama with him. Now, just to be clear, I'm not trying to start this as any kind of YouTuber beef or anything like that. I'm not a drama channel. I'm never going to be. I don't care about that. But what I do care about is the fact that ultimately this example of another trans activist who can't help but play the victim no matter what. No matter what the situation is, even when you've done something wrong, Kat could easily have just said, I misread the situation, I'm sorry, I messed up, and move on, and just leave it at that. And if she really was in a point where she didn't want to be discussing it anymore, it would have been so easy to do that. But she couldn't. And it seems like she never can. Everything she does is entirely just about her. And these are the people that are often being highlighted as the real pillars of our community, perpetual victims, who cannot help but make any situation entirely about them. And I don't respect that. And I think that there are a lot better role models, so to speak, of the trans community that people can be looking at, who aren't people like Kat Blaque. I think that she could easily have just brushed this off. She didn't. She did get a lot of white knights, so her take pity on me approach definitely did work, and you're going to see her doing in the future, and she's not the only one who, by the way, a whole lot of trans activists do this because this is how they get their name known. In the wonderful world of intersectionality, everyone has to be a victim, otherwise your opinion doesn't matter. Kat Blaque is absolutely no exception to this, and in fact she's the master of turning things around and just making everyone feel sorry for her. But what are your thoughts on the stories I've covered this week? Is there anything in particular I've missed out? Please let me know in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching. Just before I go, I want to thank everyone for helping me reach over 15,000 subscribers now. Now, that's a huge deal for me. I never expected this channel to really go anywhere, if I'm being honest. And a lot of you have been leaving me a lot of great comments. I try and read every single one. I really, really appreciate it, and I just want to thank you all for your support. It means the world to me. And as a special shout out for one particular person, Blair White has really helped spread the word of this channel. She's someone who I've looked up to for quite a long time, and it's incredible to see such a big name who doesn't have to do any of this actually put out really nice words for me. So Blair, if you're watching this, I really appreciate everything you've done for me. Thank you so much. But again, thank you all for watching. I do apologize about some of the sound issues in this video. I'm not quite sure what's happened, which is why this bit is being recorded post. But if you like what I do, please like and subscribe. You can also support me on Patreon and Subscribestar, and I'll see you all next time. And a special thank you to Gotta Get Me, Prue, The Poor of Rizzo, James C. George, James UK, James Dorans, a lot of Jameses, Evil Moy, Sarah, and the rest of my supporters on Patreon and Subscribestar.